Hello everyone, and welcome to our channel, where we explore fascinating curiosities and deep lore from the Lord of the Rings and the wider legendarium. If you enjoy stories of ancient powers, forgotten horrors, and the mysteries hidden in Tolkien's world, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to stay with us on this journey. Today's video brings a documentary-style analysis about one of the most terrifying and enigmatic beings ever to exist in Middle-earth, Ungoliant, the Devourer of Light. Before we begin, a quick reminder that all images in this video were generated by AI to avoid copyright infringement, so you may notice small inconsistencies between the visuals and the narration. Also, some narration errors might occur as we continue testing the best AI voice for our videos. Ungoliant's tale is a descent into darkness older than most beings in Arda, touching figures like Melkor, Fëanor, and the Vala themselves. Her story ends in a way as mysterious as her origin, and throughout the series we'll uncover each fragment of her shadowed legacy. Let's begin. Before the first sunrise or moonrise ever touched the sky, Middle-earth was illuminated by a living radiance that flowed from the heart of creation itself. The two trees of Valinor, Telperion and Laurelin, shone in perfect alternating cycles, casting silver and gold across the young world. Their light was pure and flawless, nourishing the fields, inspiring elven songs, and warming even the thoughts of the Vala who walked beneath their branches. It was an age when harmony felt eternal, shaped by the original music of Eru Ilúvatar, and the elves who awoke beside the sacred waters of Quivionen believed the world itself was still dreaming. Yet even in this blessed time, a quiet shadow pressed at the edges of the light. Melkor, the most powerful of the Vala, had long strayed from the path of creation. Driven by pride and jealousy, he desired dominion over what he had not made. Though watched carefully by the others, he nurtured his vengeance in silence, letting it fester deep within his heart. And unknown to most, an older and far more ravenous darkness also lingered, something that existed where the light had never reached. Ungoliant. Her name would someday be whispered in dread, but at this point she remained hidden, leaving no trace, no rumor, no memory. Some claimed she had once been a Maya twisted by Melkor's earliest whispers, while others believed she had come from beyond the world's edge, a remnant of places untouched by the song. Whatever her origins, the truth was simple: she was hunger without limit, an emptiness that desired only to consume. She lingered in the forsaken southern wastes of Avathar, where even the trees' glow could not fully reach. There she grew slowly and silently, waiting for something, perhaps instinct, perhaps fate, to draw her forth. Meanwhile, Melkor walked freely among the Noldor after being pardoned, using that mercy to plant lies and suspicion among them, especially within the fierce spirit of Fëanor. And when his deceit was finally uncovered, he fled into the dark, carrying with him the memory of the forgotten creature whose hunger might yet serve his purpose. It was during his exile, surrounded by darkness of his own making, that Melkor remembered the forgotten creature lurking far to the south. Ungoliant, the living hunger that no light could appease, seemed the perfect ally for the vengeance he longed to unleash. He approached her not with authority, but with promises of endless jewels, overflowing light, sustenance beyond anything she had ever known. In return, he asked only for her silence and obedience for a brief moment, long enough to accomplish his plan. Ungoliant accepted. Her agreement was not born of loyalty or shared hatred, but of instinct. To her, Melkor's offer was a feast waiting to be devoured. The thought of consuming radiant, living light stirred her ancient appetite, and the shadows around her pulsed in anticipation. With this unholy alliance forged, the world shifted quietly toward a fate no one in Valinor could foresee. From the depths of Avathar, Melkor and Ungoliant set out together, wrapped in the suffocating veil of the unlight. This was not mere shadow, but a darkness so absolute it smothered even memory, swallowing every glimmer that dared approach. No wind stirred where they passed. No sound followed their footsteps. It was as if Arda itself recoiled from their presence. As they moved north, Ungoliant grew bolder and larger, feeding on the faint traces of glow that escaped the trees' reach. Her webs, which were not truly webs but curtains of negation, dimmed the world around her. Even Melkor, burning with pride and fury, seemed dwarfed by her expanding mass. Yet he pressed on, driven by the humiliation he believed only he could avenge. Meanwhile, the Vala gathered in Valinor for a great feast of reconciliation, unaware of the doom approaching in silence. Their celebration marked what they hoped would be the healing of the Noldor's recent wounds, especially those inflicted by Feanor's unrest. But as harmony was toasted beneath the alternating glow of Telperion and Laurelin, Melkor and Ungoliant drew near the very heart of creation, unseen and unhindered. Hidden beneath the heavy cloak of unlight, Melkor and Ungoliant crossed the silent hills of Aman until the shimmering glow of the two trees finally appeared before them. Telperion and Laurelin stood tall and radiant, their alternating silver and golden light pulsing like the heartbeat of the world. Every cycle of their illumination renewed the life of Arda, and for ages uncounted, their brilliance had defined the rhythm of existence. Now, that sacred rhythm was about to be shattered. Melkor moved first. With a spear forged from pure hatred and malice, he struck at the roots of both trees. The wounds opened with a soundless agony, and their luminous sap poured forth like living blood. It was then that Ungoliant surged forward, her monstrous form swelling with ravenous anticipation. She wrapped herself around the wounded trunks and drank deeply. Each drop she consumed dulled the world. The light that had shaped songs, nurtured fields, and warmed the spirits of the Vala vanished into her bottomless hunger. The more she drank, the larger she grew, an ever-expanding mass of shadow, towering like a mountain of living darkness. Her presence became so dense and absolute that even Manwë's gaze could not pierce it. But she was not satisfied. Once the trees were drained to their withered husks, Ungoliant turned toward the wells of Varda, where the starlight of the heavens was gathered. She devoured them too, swallowing the last reservoirs of celestial radiance. The sky dimmed. The land lost its glow. For the first time since the shaping of the world, Valinor fell into total darkness, an abyss without stars, without warmth, without hope. And all this devastation unfolded without a single blade drawn in defense. No battle lines, no heroic last stand. Just a hunger older than memory, and a betrayal committed in perfect silence. As the Vala rose too late to understand the magnitude of the loss, the heartbeat of creation faltered. The age of peace had ended, not with thunder, but with a void that consumed the very essence of light. Valinor lay silent in the aftermath, its radiant gardens drowned beneath a suffocating void. The Vala rose too late, their brilliance muted by the oppressive shroud Ungoliant exhaled. Where golden fields once glimmered, only a formless fear now lingered. The two trees, once the heartbeat of creation, stood as withered skeletons of what they had been. The light that shaped the rhythm of the world survived only in memory. Yet Ungoliant's hunger was far from fulfilled. The light she had consumed only sharpened her need. Around her, the unlight pulsed like a living mantle, choking not just sight, but hope itself. Even the Vala could not pierce the suffocating darkness she now commanded. Every landscape she touched seemed drained of spirit, reduced to emptiness beneath her shadow. But Melkor, true to his nature, did not linger. With Ungoliant looming at his side, he fled toward Minos, where Fëanor had sealed away his greatest treasures, including the Silmarils. These 3 jewels held the unmarred light of the two trees, captured before their destruction, pure, sacred, and irreplaceable. To Melkor, they were more than artifacts. They were trophies of triumph, symbols of the humiliation he intended to inflict on all who defied him. At Minos, Melkor struck swiftly. He slew Finwë, the High King of the Noldor, becoming the first to spill elven blood. Then he breached the stronghold and plundered its vaults, seizing countless gemstones of great worth. But the Silmarils he kept for himself, clutching them with a greed bordering on madness. As payment for her service, he cast all the lesser jewels to Ungoliant. She devoured them without hesitation. But as her appetite swelled, she noticed the 3 radiant jewels Melkor guarded so jealously. Their light was irresistible, a feast unlike any she had ever consumed. She demanded them, and in that moment, the alliance forged in shadow began to crack. Ungoliant's demand for the Silmarils was immediate and absolute. The lesser jewels had only stirred her appetite, and now the radiant light trapped within the 3 sacred gems consumed her attention. She moved toward Melkor with a hunger so intense it warped the darkness around her. But Melkor, clutching the Silmarils with desperate ferocity, refused. They were his triumph, his vengeance, and perhaps the only beauty he could not bring himself to destroy. In hiding them from Ungoliant, he sealed the fate of their alliance. Ungoliant did not pause. Her hunger acknowledged no bargains, no loyalties, no fear. She lunged, wrapping Melkor in layer upon layer of her suffocating webs. These were not ordinary bindings, they were pure negation, a void that devoured even the memory of light. As she encased him, Melkor's strength faltered. His armor, forged in hatred, could not shield him from the crushing darkness. For the first time since his rebellion, the great enemy of the Vala felt terror. Melkor screamed. It was a raw, desperate cry that split the silence of Beleriand, echoing across mountains and plains like a thunderclap torn from the heart of the world. Ungoliant tightened her grip, preparing to drain the life from the most powerful of the Vala as easily as she had drained the trees. Her venomous fangs glistened in the gloom. Her formless body swelled with anticipation. She had no desire for revenge or conquest, only to consume. And she would have succeeded, but from the depths of the Iron Mountains came an answering roar, the Balrogs. Drawn by the agony of their master, these fiery spirits swept across the land, their whips of flame tearing through the veils of unlight. Where their fire struck, the oppressive darkness recoiled. Surrounded by a storm of flame and shadow, Ungoliant hesitated. Not out of fear, but calculation. Even she knew she could not devour so many foes, not yet. With a final hiss, she released Melkor and fled southward, vanishing into lands untouched by any light. Melkor stumbled free, shaken and diminished. He had destroyed the trees, slain a king, and stolen the Silmarils, but he had also tasted helplessness. And that fear would linger. Ungoliant fled southward, slipping from the Balrog's flames and vanishing into the deep, forgotten places of the world. Though Melkor survived, he staggered away from the encounter marked by a fear he had never known before. The pact he forged had nearly destroyed him, and in its collapse, something far more dangerous had been unleashed upon Arda. For while Melkor rebuilt his strength in the north, Ungoliant carried her endless hunger into lands unguarded and unprepared. She crossed into regions where no Vala set foot, her presence poisoning everything she touched. Life withered in her shadow. Waters turned bitter, trees shriveled, and even the wind seemed to die rather than brush against her veils of unlight. Eventually she reached the desolate mountains, known as Erd Gorgoroth, the Mountains of Terror. There she settled, not to rest, but to brood and consume. From her dark mass, she spawned horrors in her own image. Vast, monstrous spiders crawled forth from her, embodiments of her insatiable appetite. These creatures spread across the valleys below, weaving labyrinths of suffocating webs. Over time, the region earned a dreaded name, Nandungartheb, the Valley of Dreadful Death. Even the Noldor, brave and fierce, avoided its shadowed paths. No torch could stay lit there. No song could endure. Ungoliant did not disappear. She simply withdrew, hidden from the eyes of the mighty. The damage she inflicted upon Melkor had been temporary, but the scar she left upon Arda was enduring. A new kind of evil now existed in the world, one that did not seek power or dominion, but only consumption without end. Her corruption did not remain confined to that valley. Streams that flowed from Erd Gorgoroth carried a quiet despair, a venomous melancholy that seeped into distant lands. The earth itself felt sickened, resisting even the touch of healing. The world had barely begun to recover from the fall of Valinor, and already it faced a new, silent threat, one that cared nothing for thrones or armies. Ungoliant lingered unseen, her hunger waiting. For a long while, Ungoliant remained hidden within her web-choked domain, sunk deep into the silence she herself had crafted. Nothing living dared approach the Mountains of Terror, and nothing that entered Nandungartheb ever returned unchanged if it returned at all. Whispers spread among wandering elves of shadows that swallowed entire travelers, of eyes gleaming like dying stars, of voices that weren't truly voices brushing against their thoughts before the webs touched their skin. Soon, even rumor fell silent, as if the land wished to forget her presence. And then came total stillness. It seemed as though Ungoliant had vanished from the world entirely. But in the tales of Arda, disappearance is never simple. She had not been slain, nor trapped, nor driven out by force. She simply withdrew, drifting beyond the reach of any who might witness her fate. Her end, if it can be called that, survived only in uncertain whispers. Among the oldest accounts, one story repeats. Consumed by her own ever-growing hunger, Ungoliant wandered south, farther than any map dared chart, farther even than starlight could touch. She passed into a nameless void at the world's edge, a place without sound or memory. And there, driven by the same appetite that had devoured the two trees, she turned upon herself. There were no witnesses, no marks, no echo, only the idea that a being made entirely of hunger could meet no other end than self-consumption. A creature whose existence denied balance, limit, and purpose could only collapse inward, swallowed by the void she embodied. In a world where evil often seeks dominion, Ungoliant was something older, destruction without ambition. Yet some wonder whether this tale is true. Perhaps she did not die. Perhaps she merely changed shape, drifting through ages under new forms. After all, her legacy endured. Her brood spread through Middle-earth, monstrous spiders inhabiting dark forests and forgotten caves. Chief among them was Shelob, who haunted the passes of Cirith Ungol long into the Third Age, carrying in her gaze the same insatiable emptiness. Even the spiders of Mirkwood, their whispering hunger and glistening webs, were remnants of her shadow. Wherever darkness gathers in silence, wherever hunger grows without purpose, some say Ungoliant's essence lingers, waiting for the world to forget once more. Ungoliant left no tomb, no monument, not even a ruin to mark her passing. Yet her shadow lingered across ages, woven into the darkest corners of the world. Her brood spread far beyond Ndungertheb, slithering through forgotten forests, abandoned caverns, and narrow passes where sunlight dared not linger. Through them, her legacy endured, a quiet reminder that some hungers outlive the bodies that birthed them. In the deep woods of Middle-earth, wanderers spoke of eyes watching from the treetops, of webs falling like curtains before a path, of a presence that seemed older than the forest itself. No one could say for certain whether these were merely tales or echoes of Ungoliant's long shadow. But fear has a way of preserving truth, even when history forgets the details. Among her many descendants, one rose to particular dread, Shelob, the terror of Cirith Ungol. She nested among the jagged cliffs and labyrinthine tunnels that guarded the secret way into Mordor. Her lair was a place where the air grew heavy with decay, and webs hung like shrouds across every stone. Generations of orcs learned to fear that darkness, whispering her name as though it might summon her gaze. In her massive, glistening eyes lingered the same emptiness that had once threatened even Melkor. And further east, in the green gloom of Mirkwood, another colony thrived. The spiders there spun their webs between twisted boughs, their whispering movements sending shivers through travelers who ventured too deep. Though smaller than Shelob, they bore the unmistakable mark of that ancient hunger. Their presence was a reminder that Ungoliant's essence had not vanished. It had simply scattered like ash on the wind, settling wherever darkness remained unchecked. Ungoliant herself, whether she died devouring her own form or drifted into realms beyond sight, had shaped Middle-earth in ways few beings ever had. She was not a tyrant, nor a conqueror, nor a schemer. She was a force, a hunger without purpose or end. And in every shadowed forest, every whispering web, her memory lives on, a symbol of the void that grows when desire knows no boundaries.